All right, back at it with, we'll call this part 2. We're going to do front suspension today. I have upper and lower control arms. There really isn't a direction on what goes first. So since the upper control arms are basically just swap out, there's nothing really critical on those. I think I'll do those first and then keep the spindle and everything connected. Because the lower, you have to have a jack underneath. There's a lot more involved for the lower. So let's start with the front, specifically the upper. So instructions are for the uppers control arms are pretty basic. It basically just kind of like that brace. It's basically like swap out. Not too detailed, but do have a new ball joint to put in, grease fittings, things like this. This is what do they call this? The cam lock. So I'm curious on this. I'm not exactly sure when that goes in, so do a little digging and see. But yeah, let's get going here and what's the front of this thing, Lord? Okay, quick update. The upper control arm has been installed on the driver's side here. I don't know yet if it really makes sense to install the upper or do the lower first, so we're going to find out pretty quickly here. But bolt on everything, pretty straightforward. Just bolt on the ball joints. Those are fittings for the greasing. Removal is pretty straightforward. It takes a little bit of effort to get the ball joint out, but and then reinstalling, pretty much same thing. You can definitely see here, this is approximately where it's going to ride at. You can see how high it is in relation. This is kind of hanging down a little bit here. It's on a jack, but you can really see how much higher it's going to be. So yeah, start tackling the lower here next and kind of find out if it was smart or not smart to do that. I'm not sure yet, but not finishing that yet. Everything's in but not tight. I don't know, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see, but we're getting there. So moving on. So the driver's side is done. Definitely needs some adjustments, but hanging kind of low. But that's just kind of how it is until you obviously have the wheel on it and gravity does its thing. But upper and lower control arms installed. I did not have to remove the what do you call it, torsion bar, which was nice because I thought that would have to come out. And the key in the back was kind of like rusted on, so it's not like we don't have to mess with that. Ball joints, pretty straightforward, on and off. It turns out that, yeah, it's fine with replacing the upper first. Probably do that on the other side. But upper and lower control arms. Still have to finish the sway bar end link, but I'll wait till the other side's done, doing both at the same time. New shock. Probably can't see too well, maybe if I move over here, but definitely has some camber issues. So adjustment up here on the upper control arm. Gonna move that back in, maybe all the way. It has these little plates. You can put a little pin in different holes, and then the factory ones were just like a open sleeve, whatever you want to call it. So gonna adjust that. Everything needs to be greased and everything, and then go from there. But that is the driver's side, so wasn't terribly difficult, but yeah, time to move on to the passenger side. Okay, moving over here, starting to work on the passenger side. Just got the upper ball joint off. Just beat on a little bit, eventually it'll pop off. Disconnected the brake line and the sensor, things like that. Take the upper control arm off, put the new one on, sort of connect it somewhat, and then work on everything at the bottom. You don't have to mess with the brakes. You can pretty much keep everything attached to the hub assembly. It's not too difficult. I had to learn the tricks on the driver's side, but I'll go through a little more detail here on the passenger side. But yeah, working out pretty good so far, and let's see what this thing looks like. Okay, we have the upper control arm replaced here on the passenger side, but pretty smoothly. I did adjust the camber bolts all the way in, assuming this is probably much closer to what it's going to need to be, but we'll see as we go, and then I'll do the other side as well. But right now the brakes and everything's still assembled and hanging from the spindle here. Next step is to loosen up the torsion bar, take off the bolts for the lower control arm and the ball joint, and pretty much swap it out. Now typically you don't have to take the key off the torsion bar I did on the other side, so hopefully that's the same here, but we'll find out. But we're moving along a little bit easier second time you do it, for sure. So yeah, getting closer. Okay, so at this point the front suspension is pretty much ready to go. Let's check out the passenger side over here. Obviously pretty much the same as driver's side. Didn't film a ton of the individual pieces, but followed the same steps. Replaced the upper control arm, attached the spindle to the upper, then took the ball joint on the lower. Did not have to remove the torsion bar and the key still back there. You could just kind of slide it out when the lower control arm came out, although this one was a little trickier. Not sure why the torsion bar seems slightly stiffer. I don't know if it's the adjustment or what, but actually had to play around with a couple jacks here and take the complete spindle, brake assembly, everything off the upper control arm after I swapped it briefly to get it out of the lower, then put it back on. But otherwise, yeah, everything's the same. I did adjust the upper control arms as much as I could by moving them in as far as they go. We'll see what that does with the camber. Otherwise, everything else pretty much the same. New shocks, upper and lower control arms. That's basically the package. Yeah, I think that's pretty. Oh, I still have to do the end links for the sway bars, but I'll do that here shortly. But that's pretty much it here. Oh, might as well show it on the driver's side as well. I did adjust these again and moved the upper control arm as far back in as I could. So this is kind of what it looks like now. We'll see. I don't know if you can see that very well, but I think we'll put some wheels on, see what it looks like when it tucks up, see if it seems a little bit straighter, negative or positive actually when it comes up. But yeah, I think at this point, excuse me, I think it's time to throw some wheels on it. I didn't even do the back, it's still stock. But I just want to get off the jack stands for a little bit, so I'll throw the new wheels and tires on it, see what the front looks like, and yeah, let's see how much lower it is. Well, they're on, so looks pretty good. Just kind of hanging out here, so let's drop this thing and find out what we did or didn't do. But like I said, the back will be still pretty high, but hopefully the front is low. That is the plan with all this we just did here. So let's find out. Well, there it is. Looking a little bit funny at the moment, but quite a bit lower. Is it low enough? Nah, not quite, but we can make it a little bit more, probably playing around with torsion bars. It all depends on really what the back looks like once we get that lowered. But all in all, turned out pretty good. I don't think I've actually never run this thing. I just fired it up to move it a little bit. Turn the radio off here. But I fired it up to move it because it was sitting a little crooked when I dropped off the jacks. But yeah, this thing makes pretty good noise. Might as well fire it up and rev it up a little. I think this is a, what did the guy say? I didn't put it on, it was on, oh, you like it? Chevrolet GMC, whatever. I think it's like a big block muffler, Flowmaster, I don't know what it is, but it sounds pretty good. So anyway, let me shut this thing off and we'll wrap it up for now. Well, I guess we'll call this part 2. Front suspension is, for the most part, done. Definitely toes out a little bit. I can adjust that before I even attempt to drive it. Steering wheel's pretty much straight, and you kind of see she's towed out on this side, and it's getting dark over here, but also towed out on that side as well. But they did say that would happen, so it's an adjustment I still need to do. Not too worried. I just wanted to get off the jack stands on the ground for now. Try to get down and see the current drop. Doesn't look super dramatic if someone just, oh, it's a stock half-ton truck, but where this thing was before, came down quite a bit. I think I might be able to get a tiny bit more. But yeah, and well, here's a comparison. So front, I don't know, what is that? What do I got? 4 or 5 inches here, probably. And the back, which the front and back was pretty much dead level. So look at the back. So that's what the front used to look like. So anyway, yeah, a couple of minor things left in the front. Just still got to grease one spot I couldn't get to with it sitting up. Adjust the toe out, bring it in a little bit. Maybe play around with the torsion bars a tiny bit. I think they were kind of cranked up a little bit on this truck. And then start working on the back. And then I'll really get this thing out on the street because I've barely even driven this thing. So anyway, that's, yeah, we'll call that part 2 of the 2500 two-wheel drive lowering project. One more to go, then we'll play around with it. Oh, I don't know, red wheels. I think they look pretty cool for $5-10 and just spray painting the stock wheels. Not too bad. So yeah, I guess that's it for now. So hang in there for part 3 coming up soon. Get this thing back on the street and maybe tow something with it. See how it does. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.